Now that we've installed the ACS AEM Commons project, let's take a look at enabling the error page handler feature. So I'm going to go ahead and click on features on the project homepage, and I'm going to scroll down until I find the error page handler. I'm going to click through to this, and what this does is it allows authorizable error pages to be created and defined within AEM. So instead of requiring custom overlays of the Sling error handler scripts and routing to specific pages and or static pages, all of this lets you very easily enable authorizable error handling on a per content tree basis. So what we're going to do is scroll down to the how to use section, and we're just going to basically go through and follow these steps here. First thing we need to do is add a 404.jsp overlay for apps Sling Servlet error handler. And in my content project under apps, I'm just going to say Sling Servlet error handler, and we're going to need a 404.jsp overlay, and the documentation also said we would need a default.jsp overlay. So if we jump back to the documentation, you can see it actually provides us exactly what we need to put in these files. So it's just 2 lines here. So I'm going to copy the 404, go to my 404.jsp, copy that in, jump back to documentation, and in the default.jsp overlay, I'm going to copy this content. So there we go. The next thing we're going to need to do is enable the error handler, or I'm sorry, the error page handler service provided by the ACS Commons project. So what I'm going to need to do is create an OSGI config node for it, and I'm going to be putting that under my AMCAS demo applications config folder. So what I'm going to do is just copy this file name here, go back to my project, and go to apps, AMCAS demo config, and I'm going to make a new file, a new XML file, that exact name. Now this name is important because it actually matches up to the service that we're configuring. So I'm going to come back here, I'm just going to copy this XML contents and paste it in. So real quickly, the enable property here, it just enables or disables the service. So for whatever reason you wanted to temporarily disable it, you could actually go in and change this to false. And you could also do this via the Felix console if you so desired. The error page system path is used if no error page paths can be resolved by any other lookup scheme. The extension is just the extension that's going to be used to render the error page. This almost never needs to change from HTML. If you're changing it, be very careful, and you probably actually don't want to. The fallback name is the fallback error page name. In this case, if no error page can be found using the normal lookup schemes, it's going to look for something at /content/error/500.html, or the /content/error/500, and it's going to try to render that resource using the HTML extension. These prop paths actually allow you to programmatically define where error pages are per content tree. Typically these aren't used. These are a little bit brittle as these are maintained by developers. So as the content teams actually build out and evolve their content structure, you need new application deployments or at least configuration deployments to support those. So generally we'll actually remove these, and we'll be maintaining this, this relationship on the page nodes themselves in the content trees. The last thing we want to do is ensure that we are including our new apps Sling folder into our content package. So I'm going to open up the meta-inf vault filter.xml, and I'm just going to go ahead and add our Sling overlay under apps to our filter. So now when we build it, it will actually include these files that we added. So let me go ahead and just build the project and install it. So let me go ahead and refresh. Let's take a look at AMCAS's demo config, and there we have it. We have our error page handler config that we defined. And down under Sling, we have Servlet error handler. We have our 404 and our default.jsp. So the next thing we need to do, and the very last thing before we can start configuring our pages, is actually exposing a configuration element to page properties. So the easiest way to do this is to use the provided error pages widget. So all we have to do is add this to our page properties. And since I'm going to be demoing this on the geometrics page, I'm going to be actually adding this under the libs foundation page advanced tab. So of course in your application you would never change anything under libs, but this would go under your base page implementation. So let me jump back to CRXD Lite, and we'll go ahead and navigate down here to page, tabs, items, advanced. And we're going to be adding it to this first section here. So we're just going to want to add a new node, and we're going to call it error pages. So our X type is going to be CQ include. I'm going to add that and come back here. Our path is going to be this long absolute path. And this is a predefined configuration provided by the ACS Commons. If you actually want to change some of the wording like the field name or field description, you can do that by creating your own field path widget. The important thing is making sure that you keep this name of error pages exactly as it is. So now that we've done this, let me go ahead and refresh the site admin. And let's verify that we have our new error pages field, so this is great. And I'm going to show you under the Geometrics English page, I've created a errors folder, or an errors page. And within that, I have two pages. The first is an internal server error page. And you're going to see that the name of the page, or the node name, is 500. And this is going to correspond exactly to the servlet response, or HTTP response status code that's going to be returned for the error that we want to handle this with. And then we have a not found page, and that's going to be 404. And again, these titles can be anything you want, but these names are very important. These match up to the status codes. So just to show they're different, I'll go ahead and open these. So here's our internal server error page. This is a technical error occurred. Please contact support. And for a 404 not found, we have some sunglasses. Couldn't find what you're looking for. So now, if we actually request a page under Geometrics EN that doesn't exist, then we should be getting this page with the sunglasses. So what we can do, just go ahead and open the events page. So this is a page that exists, so this is okay. And let me just request events foobar, something that does not exist. So hit enter. And look at that, it actually responds with the not found page. Our URI still is actually pointing to events foobar. And if I pull Chrome DevTools up and just hit refresh again, you're going to see that the request here actually still maintains and persists the 404 response code. So this is great. We don't want to be sending a 200 response. We want to keep this a 404, but we want to have this custom message along with it. So this is looking really good. One thing to note is on the error pages, you typically don't want breadcrumbs and things like that, just because it doesn't really make sense in the context. So usually there is a special error page template that's used, or it gets rid of these navigation elements. So we can also test out the 500 error page. To do that, we actually need to break some code on one of these pages to make it throw an error. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go into the geometrics components. I'm going to go to product list. So I know this is only on the products page. And I'm just going to go throw some text in here. I'm going to say force an error. So when we hit a page with this component on it, it should force an error and throw us to our 500 error page. So now I'm going to open up the products page, and we've forced that error as the product list component is included down at the bottom of that. So I'm going to open this up. And some of these exceptions can actually be pretty sneaky. If the error was not in the component, you'd actually see it down here. And if we want to, we can remove this error, refresh the page, and you'll see that we have our product list down at the bottom. So here's our product list. I'm going to go ahead and enforce this error again, even though this error is actually kind of getting, isn't actually displaying stack trace on this page. So now we don't have that component. It is actually throwing an error under the covers here. And one way we can actually see that is if we go to preview mode, and if we refresh, it's actually going to be trapping that error, and it's and displaying this error messaging here for us. So it's very apparent that an error is occurring when we're in preview mode. And authors should be previewing their content before publishing it. From here, you can return to edit mode if you'd like. The other things you can do are do a publish preview. So in this case, if this were pushed to publish and an end user were to go to this page, this is the view of the products page they would actually see. It's actually serving our internal server error page. So that's exactly what we want. Likewise, we can go edit error page, and this is going to take us straight to the error page that's responsible for rendering, and it goes into edit mode. So if we wanted to actually tweak some of the wording or anything on this page, authors have the opportunity to jump to it straight from this preview error page here. And for the more technical folks, they can look at the full error message or the full request progress. So there you have it. It's really easy to add custom error pages to your site now. If we wanted to, we could do the exact same thing under French. We could create a new error page here. And create our new our French error pages. Again, these names do have to stay 500. The titles can be anything you want. Unfortunately, I don't know French, so these are not quite accurate. And come to the page properties, go to advanced. For this tree, we'll be picking errors. So if I go to the services page and I go to foo/bar, we'll be getting our French not found page rather than the English not found.